Hello and welcome back to the Gaming Dave News Show. Yes, this video is a day late. Deal with it. You're still getting news. So with that being said, let's get cracking, shall we? There is quite a bit to talk about here, so I'm going to rattle on through. First off, we have a new Heroes of the Storm patch called Eternal Conflict came out. With that came new maps, new tweak, and a new hero called the Butcher. This patch is very much focusing on the Diablo universe and does look very interesting, and it might get me back into Heroes of the Storm. Next up, following news of new updates, we also have a new Team Fortress 2 update that adds a kind of campaign sort of mode per se. It's not necessarily single player focused, it's more kind of you are given a series of challenges and you are given rewards and such for completing these sorts of challenges. There might be like do 1,000 points of damage as a pyro without dying kind of thing, or something along those lines, similar to what Counter-Strike does at the moment with its Operation Bloodhound. It's really nice to see this kind of feature being brought in, and I think it would definitely do a lot to bring people back to Team Fortress 2, or maybe bring people into Team Fortress 2 in general, and it's something that I'm definitely very interested in. Ark Survival, the currently in early access survival game, has sold 1 million copies in less than a month. Now, the key success to this game seems to be revolving around the rampant Twitch streaming that happened because of its release, and also the fact that it's basically just a survival game but with dinosaurs. It is enough of a twist upon the genre to, I think, actually make a difference and look like a really good game. So, well done, Ark Survival, great job. A new Hearthstone expansion is set to be announced 22nd of July. Now this is of course very interesting to me. Bunch of people, bunch of like journalists and all that, especially PC Gamer, got given a thing. It was like a little scroll and it was kind of just saying, watch out for this kind of date, and it was all kind of regal and all very fancy and all that. So there are two strong theories as to what this expansion is. Theory the first is that it is the Argent Tournament, which was a big part of Wrath of the Lich King, building up to taking down the Lich King himself, and also the Darkmoon Fair, which has kind of been a constant throughout WoW's lifetime, and is kind of what I'm leaning more towards, but there hasn't been word as if it's going to be a full, like, 100-odd card expansion, per se, or if it's going to be another adventure similar to that of Curse of Naxxramas or Blackrock Mountain. It's more likely to be a bigger expansion if the pattern is kind of suggesting towards adventure, expansion, adventure, expansion. But 22nd of July, so watch out for that. A Dawn of War 3 domain has been registered by Sega. Now, this is something that I find very interesting, Dawn of War being the Warhammer 40k based strategy franchise. Bunch of series of really good games. They kind of stopped after THQ unfortunately went under, and these licenses were all kind of sold out. And Dawn of War was developed by Relic Entertainment and then published by THQ. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens next, and if Sega is going to take on the mantle of Dawn of War. Alternatively, this could be just for rights of protection and they might not actually do anything with it, but the dream is very much alive that we might get a new Dawn of War game, so that's very interesting. It's something to look out for. The new Mass Effect Andromeda trailer that came around at E3 apparently did not feature the main protagonist. So the main protagonist seems to be very much shrouded in mystery, and we'll be looking forward to the future conventions and future announcements to see if we actually get details upon a main protagonist. Club Nintendo, that provided fans with free games and swag and all sorts of cool stuff, has shut down. This was announced back in January, but the whole plan has now come through and it has now been shut down with no mention of a replacement. So it'll be interesting to see if Nintendo have any plans for a replacement or make some kind of statement announcing their plans for this. People who are skeptical about Battlefront might want to hold that back, because DICE have come out and said that just reskinning Battlefield wasn't going to be enough to do Battlefront justice. And that is very promising to see, and it does show that they do have good intentions. I am very skeptical about Battlefront. I will admit it. I do not think it will be a good game. I think it will be broken. I think the aggressive DLC policies will be too much. But DICE and EA are progressively showing how much they care about this game and how much they want to do it right. But I think that's purely because they don't want to invoke the wrath of many, many Star Wars fans. So we'll see. Maybe it'll be a good game. Who knows? Now here's something that I found very interesting. Halo 5 Guardians, I believe it's called, will not include split screen or local LAN capabilities, like native LAN capabilities. Now this to me is very, very confusing and very weird, and it does raise a lot of questions as to the relevance or why developers seem to just be turning down the idea of split screen in games. And Nintendo, they're keeping it along fine, as are most people who make racing games. But for some reason, split screen is becoming less and less common, and it's very concerning and, quite frankly, a little bit annoying. I don't get why they're doing this, and it does not seem like a smart decision at all, but there you go, you heard it here, Halo 5 will not include split screen. The eagerly awaited Last Guardian game, that was also announced at E3, to much applause, was said to, it would have been scrapped had the fans not been repeatedly asking for it. This was a game that was kind of long awaited for years and years after, I believe it was Shadow of the Colossus, and had a whole load of E3 tech demos and holdbacks and all that, but it eventually got announced with a proper release date, and it is definitely coming. So it kind of goes to show what the persistence of fans can do, but that might not apply to all companies. I'm looking at you, people who confirm Half-Life 3 at every single turn. In another interesting piece of news, Black Ops 3 will still be running on the generic COD engine that they have used for a long time. It will be running on the Quake 3 Arena engine that they've used for several COD games in the past, and they've said that it's very hard to nail down a proper COD engine, and it is said that it will also be heavily tweaked and upgraded to be able to run Black Ops 3 as effectively as possible. So whether this is a good thing or a bad thing is yet to be seen. And in a final bit of news that did make me chuckle a little bit, Uncharted 4, you know, one of the big, hyped up next-gen titles for PS4, is going to be kind of one of the big PS4 titles to really look forward to, is having its single player capped at 30 frames per second because they couldn't quite make it to 60. I'm sorry, what? Last Generation called, they want their frame rate back. I mean, seriously, for a PS4 game to run its single player at 30 frames per second is just ridiculous. Naughty Dog, what are you doing? You had a chance to really push what the PS4 could do, and with Uncharted you had a great way to do it. But what? Apparently they shot for 60 frames per second, and they really aimed for 60 frames per second in a tech demo they did for E3. Didn't happen. And then some executive developer was like, yeah, we're capping the single player at 30 frames per second. They are still apparently aiming for 60 frames per second for the multiplayer, but if they can't do it in the single player, I don't see why they'll be able to do it in the multiplayer. And to have a difference between the two would, quite frankly, be a bit odd. Great job, Naughty Dog. Really, really doing yourself proud. So that was my news for me this week. Quite a few interesting things to come out the week. I will see you soon. I'm the Gaming Dave. I'll see you next time.